Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Podcast, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some stocks on the move today. I'm Nathan Hager, joined by Bloomberg's Kriti Gupta. And Kriti, as the fighting continues between Israel and Iran, we have to take a look at individual shares that are exposed to what's happening in the Middle East. Good morning.
Good morning, Nathan. The oil story is front and center from a macro perspective, but getting magnified, of course, when it comes to those equities that are exposed. So naturally, my eye goes straight to the oil producers. We got to hit the big ones, Chevron and Exxon, for example. But it's interesting what you're seeing in these oil markets, despite pairing some of the gains that you saw from the oil price level. It's not really the story when it comes to the oil stocks. So let me give you some examples. Chevron and Exxon are actually your laggards when it comes to the energy sector. So CVX is your ticker there. Higher by 0.3%, trading at $146 a share. Exxon right on its heels, trading only higher by 0.2% at about $112 a share. But then you look at some of the companies that have more domestic exposure, and that's where you see perhaps more momentous gains. So Marathon Petroleum is one example. MPC is your ticker, higher by 0.8%, trading at about $167 a share. If you are more exposed to the United States shale picture, you are rallying more today. And I think that's the key takeaway from this oil story, Nathan, is simply this idea that if you see these oil prices sustainably high, which is kind of the consensus expectation right now, given there's no end in sight to these geopolitical tensions or the latest kind of series of strikes, that may actually incentivize some of the U.S. more domestically exposed shale producers to produce even more and capitalize on that higher price level. So keep an eye certainly on that as well. But Nathan, it is still a very defensive market today. Even though you see a lot of green on the screen, there you are seeing a lot of tech outperform, a lot of defense outperform. So let me give you two examples there. Palantir is a key one. PLTR is your ticker, higher by about 2% in the pre-market trade, trading at about $140 a share. This is a little bit of a double tailwind because on the one hand, they have these massive defense contracts as well and get a lot of federal spending. So there is that component to it. But they are also, of course, exposed to the AI name. And you are seeing a lot of the tech names rally here. Again, it's a very defensive play in this market. And speaking of defense and defensive plays, we should talk about Raytheon, which is seeing quite a bit of heavy volume this morning. RTX is your ticker, higher by 1.2%, leading the defense sector higher. Seeing the likes of Norfolk Southern, for example, at Northrop Grumman. It's completely misread that ticker. Apologies.
It's okay.
And Lockheed Martin, among others, kind of leading the pack there. RTX is your ticker, though, for Raytheon, trading higher by, as I said, 1.3%, $147 a share there. Nathan, I'm going to take a completely different view and talk a little bit about U.S. Steel because those shares are rallying in a big way. The ticker is just the letter X, higher by about 5.2%. It looks like you are now seeing a little bit more of a green light when it comes to the approval of the Nippon Steel investment into U.S. Steel. And that was under question last week. Looks like Donald Trump has given him the official green light, reaching the pact to close the steel deal, and that is pushing those shares higher. So good news when it comes to those U.S. Steel shares. I'll end, Nathan, with a downside mover if I can.
Okay.
Sticking with the commodity space, and that is Newmont. It's down just shy of 2% this morning, reflecting what you're seeing in gold prices.
The Stock Movers Podcast from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.